This presentation is a case study of the proposed Site C Dam in northern British Columbia. On the title page is an artist's rendering of what the dam will look like upon completion. First, I will discuss why there is a need for a new dam in British Columbia. In the next 20 years, the population of BC is expected to increase by 1 million people. With this population growth will come an economic growth as well. As a result, electricity demand in BC is expected to grow by 20 to 40% in the next 20 years. Without action, there is a projected electricity shortfall of 19,000 gigawatt hours per year in 20 years. Furthermore, between 10% and 60% of all vehicles purchased by 2025 will be plug-in hybrid electric or completely electric, which will add further stresses to the BC electric grid. Also, the province has a goal of electricity self-sufficiency by 2016. The province also wants to ensure that 90% of all electricity generation remains clean. BC Hydro, the electric utility in British Columbia, has proposed a solution to this projected electricity demand. BC Hydro has proposed that 3/4 of the projected needs be met through conservation and the rest through additional resource options. The conservation methods that BC Hydro has proposed include new government codes and standards for electric equipment and appliances, conservation rate structures encouraging users to use electricity at non-peak demand hours, power smart incentives and marketing efforts, and smart metering. The additional resource options that BC Hydro has proposed include purchasing power from independent power producers and the proposed new Site C Dam. The Site C Dam will be a third dam and generating station on the Peace River in northeast British Columbia, located downstream from the existing Williston Reservoir and two existing BC Hydro dams. The dam will provide enough electricity to provide approximately 410,000 homes per year with electricity. The Site C Dam will be available for domestic electricity needs by the year 2020. The new Site C Dam will be 60 meters high above the riverbed. It will be 1.1 kilometers in length. It will produce 4,600 gigawatt hours of energy per year. It will have a capacity of 900 megawatts. The reservoir will be somewhat large. It will be 83 kilometers in length and will be 2 to 3 times the width of the current river. The total reservoir surface area will be 9,310 hectares. The total flooded land area for the reservoir will be 5,340 hectares. To put this in perspective, the UBC Vancouver campus is 402 hectares, so the total flooded land area is more than 10 times the size of the Vancouver UBC campus. Of this flooded land area, 81% is Crown-owned land. Another 12% is currently owned by BC Hydro, and another 7% is currently privately owned land. However, Site C will generate 30% of the electricity produced at the WAC Bennett Dam with only 5% of the reservoir area. This is a map showing where the new dam will be located. As you can see from the inset in the top of the map, it will be located in northeastern British Columbia, close to the Alberta border. It will be on the Peace River, 7 kilometers from the town of Fort St. John. It will be located downstream from the WAC Bennett Dam and the Peace Canyon Dam. The Site C Dam will itself be a form of green energy. It will produce among the lowest greenhouse gas emissions per gigawatt hour when compared with other forms of electricity generation. Furthermore, the dam will also facilitate the development of intermittent clean energy resources such as wind, run-of-river hydro, and solar. This is because hydro dam electricity is more easily adjustable than other forms of electricity such as nuclear and coal generation. The generation of the Site C Dam can be reduced when intermittent resources are available and the water can be stored in the reservoir for later use. When intermittent resources are not available, the generation from large hydro can be increased to meet our electricity needs. There will also be jobs created in BC as a result of the new dam. It is estimated that 7,650 direct construction jobs will be created throughout the 7-year construction period of the dam. Furthermore, the dam will also create up to 35,000 direct and indirect jobs throughout all stages of the project. At the same time, flooding of land for the reservoir will potentially impact fish, wildlife, vegetation, and agriculture in the region. This in turn could impact hunting, fishing, and trapping by Aboriginal people in the area. Furthermore, Highway 29 would need to be rerouted as sections of it would be flooded by the reservoir. BC Hydro has adopted a multi-stage approach to evaluating the Site C Clean Energy Project. At the completion of each stage, the provincial government will decide whether to proceed to the next stage. BC Hydro is currently in Stage 3, the Environmental and Regulatory Review stage. Stage 1, Review of Project Feasibility, included a review of existing studies and historical information related to engineering, costs, environment, consultation, and First Nations. Stage 2, Consultation and Technical Review, included consultations with the public, Aboriginal groups, communities, and property owners. It also included a technical review involving engineering and environmental studies. Stage 3, Environmental and Regulatory Review, is the current stage and will include an independent environmental assessment and opportunities for consultation and input by the public, Aboriginal groups, stakeholders, and communities. Stage 4, Detailed Design and Engineering, will include detailed engineering design work and project procurement. It could also include early construction, such as roads, bridges, and diversion tunnels. Stage 5, Construction, will be the final stage and is estimated to take 7 years. The current design for the Site C Dam was made in the 1980s, but was suspended until a need was apparent, like now. Since then, in 2000, the Canadian Dam Association has issued new guidelines for dam safety in Canada. Furthermore, there is now a greater understanding of seismic activity in the Peace River region. Also, there are new environmental guidelines. At the completion of Stage 2, BC Hydro concluded that a refined and updated design is required to meet current seismic, safety, and environmental guidelines and to incorporate input from consultation. As part of Stage 3, construction of Site C will be subject to environmental certification and required regulatory approvals and ensuring that the Crown's constitutional duties to First Nations are met. Key regulatory processes that will apply include independent federal and provincial environmental assessment processes delivered by the BC Environmental Assessment Office and the Canadian Environmental Assessment Agency. Stage 3 work will include refining and updating the historic project design to reflect current environmental, seismic, and safety guidelines, updating the interim project cost estimate based on an updated project design, advancing environmental and socio-economic studies, and consulting with Aboriginal groups, the public, communities and property owners, as well as the province of Alberta and the Northwest Territories. Stage 3 consultation topics will include agriculture, fish and wildlife, Highway 29 realignment options, reservoir impact lines, recreation, regional community benefits, reservoir clearing, and socioeconomic study topics such as land use, resources, community, and economic topics. The Site C Dam has many stakeholders, each with their own view on the dam. I will first discuss the position of Treaty 8 First Nations. First Nations in Canada have the constitutional right to continue with their way of life on their established lands. They are currently not satisfied with the level of consultation to date. First Nations want to fully participate in the Site C Dam decision-making process. Moreover, they have called on the government of British Columbia to support an independent assessment of environmental and cultural impacts and of all viable energy alternatives. On September 17, 2010, 4 Treaty 8 First Nations members delivered a formal declaration to the government of British Columbia regarding their position on the Site C dam. The declaration declared that the dam will have negative impacts on their ancestral graves, wildlife hunted and fished by Aboriginal peoples, ecosystems, agriculture, land used for cultural activities, and that the dam will add 147,000 tons of carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. The declaration further declared that First Nations people are opposed to the Site C dam. They vow to use all lawful means to stop the Site C dam from proceeding, and that the dam is not green or clean. The Site C dam is a controversial topic amongst communities in the Peace River region. Local communities have expressed concerns for the environment, revenue losses for the community due to diminished tourism and agriculture, and the potential nuisance of rerouting Highway 29. Moreover, 7% of the land to be flooded for the reservoir is privately owned. Some homeowners and farmers in the area will be affected by this. At the same time, the Site C dam will create 7,650 local construction jobs and many other jobs throughout the project and once the dam is in service. Several environmentalists have expressed their views on the Site C dam project. The David Suzuki Foundation recommends that the province of British Columbia conduct a full ecological evaluation of the region, taking First Nations and local residents' perspectives into consideration. They also recommend that BC confirm that all cost-effective energy conservation opportunities are being pursued. Furthermore, they recommend that BC conduct a province-wide assessment of renewable energy sources while taking their environmental and social impacts into account. On the other hand, the Peace Valley Environment Association exists solely to oppose construction of the Site C dam. Members of the industrial sector will also be influenced by the Site C dam. The Horn River Basin Producers Group is a joint initiative of 11 companies involved with the production and development of shale gas in the Horn River Basin in northeastern British Columbia. The Horn River Basin is currently not connected to the BC electricity grid and relies strictly on diesel generators and natural gas-fired power plants. The Horn River Basin Producers Group is expected to need an additional 100 to 350 megawatts of electricity in the next 20 years due to growing shale gas production. A planned transmission line and the Site C dam will allow the Horn River Basin Producers Group to develop shale gas with a lower carbon footprint while still paying affordable electricity rates. The Association of Major Power Consumers of British Columbia represents over 24 industrial power users, including forestry, mining, and oil and gas companies. The association is concerned that making power in BC self-sufficient and 90% green will cost $1.7 billion per year, increasing electricity prices. Members of the association currently spend $400 million annually on electricity. The association is concerned that even small percent changes in electricity rates could put some of their members out of business or cause them to relocate to other provinces. This would further impact the economy of British Columbia. In conclusion, the Site C dam is a controversial project. The province must therefore proceed with caution, thoroughly consulting with all stakeholders and considering all environmental, cultural, and economic impacts. The province must ensure that all economic energy conservation methods are being practiced. Moreover, the province must evaluate all renewable energy sources throughout the province to ensure that Site C is the option with the lowest impact to the environment and society. I would like to thank you for taking the time to listen to this presentation.